Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our sunset safari on, as I said, Saturday. And it is a very warm welcome from the sun itself as well, because it is a nice hot day today once again, which hopefully will mean that we'll have lots of animals out and about near the water. My name is Tristan, and on camera today I've got Sebastian, and we are coming to you live from South Africa, which means hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or on the YouTube chat if you want to ask any questions or at least say hello from wherever you're watching from. Now, these tracks that we've got here are for a female leopard, and they are from this morning sometime, so I don't think they were from after drive. There's already a vehicle that's driven over, and we're the first vehicle out this afternoon, unless somebody was driving around during the day, which I don't think anybody was as far as I know. But it is for a female leopard. You can see they are not completely destroyed by the wind, but there is a bit of soil on top, so following these tracks should be quite difficult. Actually, I don't know if we're going to find this cat. We're going to try anyway, because a female around quarantine, well, we know it could be Tandi, but it also could be our little Shongololo, and there's been lots of people that have been asking about Shongile, so I think we shall try and endeavor to find her, and if we don't find her, then we're going to try and maybe find her brother. So that's what we're going to do, I think, this afternoon. Also, because it's very warm and hot, I reckon a trip to Twin Dams, Treehouse Dam, maybe Gowrie Dam, Buffelshoek Dam, or even Chitwa Dam for our larger pachyderm friends that could potentially be enjoying a bit of sunshine and swimming if they are all sort of getting into the mood of things, is what I was looking for. Getting a bit tongue-tied. Whoopsie. Not a good start. Right, now the tracks, I can't see them crossing over this road, which means that they must be from early this morning, but let's go and check towards Gallagher Pan. Maybe this leopard drank at the pan, and because of the heat that we've got, might have laid down there somewhere and is just sleeping. I haven't heard any alarm calls during the day. Normally if there's a cat that's lingering around the lodge, we hear some sort of sign of alarm calls, whether it be bushbuck barking or monkeys alarm calling, but there's been really very little this morning in that regard. So I'm going to try and see, maybe we just drive around and just get a look and see if there isn't any sign of anything happening around there. If there's nothing, well, then we'll just carry on, like I said, and go check some dams, and then later we'll head towards where Hosanna was this morning, because I don't think anybody else is going to be able to find him other than ourselves, given where we left him. It's not a very nice place at all and is very dense and thick, so it will be up to us, I think, if we want to try and find Hosanna again. Now, I believe Taylor is out and about in the Masai Mara, and she wants to wave her golden locks and say hello, so let's go across to her.
Hello everybody, welcome to today's Sunset Safari, and we're starting things off with some elephants. Aren't they absolutely precious? I probably should pull my hat down. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is Craig, aka Batman, aka Butternut Craig, and any other nicknames you can think of him. But we've got a lovely herd of elephants walking right towards us with the most gorgeous view of the tree line. And below that tree line is the Mara River, but you can't see it from here. Now, remember, this is live, this is interactive, this is happening right now. So hashtag Safari Live with any of your questions, or you can chat to us on the YouTube chat. You can do that too. Now, we won't spend too much time with these Eddies, but I thought that this was just too beautiful to pass up. And, well, they're my favorite animal in the whole wide world, so why not spend a couple of minutes with them? But I have some exciting news for you. There's actually lots of exciting news today. We saw a cheetah just after drive ended near those lions that were trying to hunt a giraffe. They didn't hunt a giraffe while we were there, though. So we're going to see if we can follow up on that female cheetah. Whether she'll still be around, I'm not so sure. But what I'm really finding quite funny is these two elephant calves. They keep trying to use mom for shade. They're not standing near her side. They're always standing on her left-hand side and trying to get as close to her bottom as possible. It's quite a hot, warm day today. I think mom needs to take those lot to a mud wallow where they'll have a fantastic time and they can cool themselves down, have a drink, quench the thirst, and splash around in the mud. An elephant's favorite thing to do. Now, CNAC, you're wondering, what is the maximum size an elephant get? Well, an elephant bull average weights between 5 and 5.5 tons, I would say. However, the elephants seem slightly larger here. Well, at least the cows. All the cows I've seen have been big. There hasn't been one small cow. But there was a group of elephants known as the Magnificent Seven in the Greater Kruger National Park, and they were exceptional. They were thought to have had the woolly mammoth gene, and if I'm not mistaken, those elephants weighed well or closer towards 6 tons, if not even bigger than that. So there's still some giants out there, and also their tusks grew slightly different. They grew straight down to the ground rather than that slight sort of curve that we typically see with the elephants in South Africa, and it seems to be quite common here in Kenya too, to have elephants with sort of curved tusks. I forgot to tell you, I saw a couple of elephant bulls too, that were quite big tuskers, not massive ones like we get in Kruger. Now, planes and trains, you're wondering if the big elephant is fully grown. Yeah, she won't get any bigger than that. Her tusks might grow a little bit longer, and she's quite a large cow. Like I was saying now, the elephant cows in the Mara Triangle, at least, are massive. They're much larger in terms of an average size for a female than the Kruger elephants. Of course, that's just my opinion. And I've stated it a couple of times, even while we were in South Africa. I said to you, we hadn't been seeing too many big cows, and I pointed out just before I headed up this side that there was one herd that we had 3 rather large cows in, which was really nice to see. That means that they must be much older. I don't think that they're particularly young. And there's lots of old girls around here, and some zebra, some stripes to go with the elephant. Always complimenting an elephant's outfit, some stripes. And off they go. But I love the fact that you've got the beautiful blue sky in the background. It's not often that we get shots like this where we're a little bit lower. Oi. Mom reprimanding that youngster. I'm sure. I don't know if it's her oldest son, but it is a young bull tailing the herd. It could be, of course, previous offspring. Wouldn't surprise me at all, the 3 of them. And then that's another female on the left-hand side. I don't think that they're necessarily related, but there's also a possibility that it could be one of her daughters from previous years. They're going to cross the road. Now, there's no shortage of water around at the moment after all the rain we've had. And they don't need to travel down to the river to drink. They can actually just stop in the little drainage lines on the sides of the roads, and there are plenty of little mud wallows as well in the middle of the open plains. Right, we're going to go and try and find ourselves a spotted cat. However, Tristan is bumbling about in the Sabi sands. I call him the king of leopards, and he's looking for the princess today.
We are, Taylor. We are looking for the princess, and we're not looking for you or Ali. We are looking for little Shongile, and so far no sign. I checked Gallego pan thinking that there would be water, but there's actually no water in the pan at the moment at all. So that kind of throws a bit of a spanner in the works, because I would have thought she might have come and drank here and then lay down somewhere, but if there's no water here, then the chances of her lying anywhere close to the pan is very difficult. I did do a little loop around there just to check for tracks. I can't find anything coming out, but then again, these roads are just completely covered with impala and nyala and kudu tracks that is very difficult to see anything else. It just looks like one big solid hoof print at the moment. So I don't know if she maybe came past where we are and then down into these series of drainages in front of Weatela and Gallego camps. There are guests around there, so we can't really do too much just yet. So I think what we're going to do is just carry on and come back here a little bit later. But the lack of water there means that the chances of the leopard sitting and staying in this area for the day is very slim. I'm sure that leopard was going for water, and because there was no water at the actual little pan, it's decided to move on. Now, I'm not sure what's going on. There normally is pumped, that water hole, so I'm sure the leopard is probably just as confused as us that there isn't any water there. What's also quite amazing is that pan had water in it. When did I go on leave? 10 days, 11, 12 days ago. So it was 12 days ago it was full. So it just shows you how quickly things can dry, and when there's a couple of animals that come and drink, what actually happens. And I wonder if that's maybe why we haven't seen too many ellies drinking around this area at the moment. It could be that the water in Gowrie Dam is a little bit on the stale side, if you want to call it that, so stagnant, should we say. And then at Gallego, there's no water there, so it means that the only places they can really drink from are probably Sydney's dam, some of the dams on Buffelshoek, and then down to the south. Wow, well, this is a very, very, very special surprise, because we have our first Kenyan presenter interviewing this afternoon, so I hope that you're going to be all very nice to him. And he's even got the biggest surprise and managed to do what, well, Brent has failed to do over the last little bit.
In the Masai Mara Triangle, in front of us, we're having a big leopard just relaxing on top of the gardenia tree. My name is Vincent on board, and on camera is David, and we're just enjoying. Welcome, guys. Watch this big leopard, and he looks just so relaxed. And we were just trying to find a pride of lions which are normally found in this area, called the sausage tree pride. It's a pride of about 4 females, but just checking around with the kind of heat we're having now here. They could be, I was thinking they could be down just having a shed on this big gardenia because it has a good shade for them. And we just bang this big male leopard who's just chilling out here. That shows that there's no any other lioness or lion around here, since the predators doesn't like each other in terms of competition. They tend to fight, and the lions, especially being at the top of the predator line, then the leopard could not be anywhere around them. So the leopard is just having a nap, just a little ahead. There was some shrikes making a noise which alerts him, and he just sleeping, twitching the ears. And normally most of the animals depend on any other animal in terms of alarms. So the leopard just raised up his head just some minutes ago when the shrikes make some noise, and you see him panting. It's just like good. James just asked then on how I know the leopard is actually a male, and just by the look of the head. Now it's looking at us. Just by the look of the head, the female leopard has small head compared to the male leopards. So if you try to focus on the head, it's got a bigger head. That shows you definitely and also the size. I mean, it's massive. Size tells you whether it's female or male. So just talking about the panting, you see him panting. It shows you the heat, because it's really it's a bit hot here, and that's why he's just down on the big shade of a gardenia tree. And since the cat doesn't have any sweat glands, so the panting helps in regulating the body temperature, and he doesn't look full by the look of the belly. Gents, good question. How many leopards are in the reserve? It's actually a tricky question to answer, because since the leopards are very shy and they hide a lot, it's difficult for any count or anybody try count them. So, but I must guess that we have more than 100 leopards within the reserve, and the entire Mara game reserve, we have more than 100 leopards. And I'm not familiar with this boy, because there used to be a boy roaming from the escarpment down the river, but this guy looks a bit smaller than him, because he used to have he's an old male, but I think he's not the one that I've seen several times. But there used to be just in front of us, there's some balanites, and there's another lager just in front of us, and there used to be another leopard normally roams the area. So we have more than 100 in the entire reserve. Actually, just come up with your question again, please. Before this, I was working in this reserve side of the Mara Triangle about 5 years ago in another camp called Old Sanctuary Olanana, but went on again to Mahali Mzuri outside the reserve into the conservancy area, Then I actually worked in this reserve for about 3 years, beginning 2009 until about 2012, 2013. So the guy is still relaxed. So I'm just talking about the leopard is looking chill, and we're going to spend some time here with him and try to look and check on what he's going to do, whether he's going to try find some food for him, because just by the look of the belly, it looks like he's not that full. He might try get some food maybe tonight or any time that he wakes up. Probably in the next few hours or minutes he's going to be up, and hopefully we're going to see him and stay with him for quite some time.
Well, what a way to start your interview drive with Wild Earth, with a leopard in the Masai Mara. That's absolutely amazing. So well done, Vincent. That's very good. I'm glad that you have found something and that you're settling in, and hopefully you'll have a wonderful drive this afternoon, and wish you the best of luck. I forgot to say that earlier. I was just so excited that he had found a leopard that we went across to him, but that's so cool, and I'm really, really happy. I'm sure James is loving every second of it on the back. He's probably smiling ear to ear at this stage. Now we've come past Gowrie Dam, not too much happening there. I believe earlier there was a crazy sighting of ground hornbills attacking some bird, and there was all kinds of commotion. I saw a video on it. I think it was here. Somebody sent me a video on Twitter saying that the ground hornbills were around, so it looked like Gowrie Dam, but if it was, absolutely insane. It's amazing what those ground hornbills will actually go after. It really is an astonishing feat when they sort of attack these big things and take over. But we haven't found too much other than that. We've kind of driven around, just checking, just seeing if there's any more signs of that female leopard, but nothing really. And that area around Galago, like I say, if there's guests that are in the lodge and it's so thick and dense there for now, it's probably best just to leave it. It's still so hot that I doubt any leopard in its right mind is going to be moving around. It's going to probably be sitting and sleeping somewhere. So we thought we'd quickly go and get Seb's time lapse out the way. So we're just going to quarantine to do that, and then onward to Treehouse and Twin Dams. I have a sneaky suspicion that Hosanna might be lying at Twin Dams, given the heat that we're having. There's no other water anywhere close by to where we left him this morning, so I think he might be that side. But I'm hoping if he's not there, at least some big elephants. Sinak, I think I understood that you said, is there no animals at Galago Dam? I think, is that right, Megan? Or did I get that wrong? No, so Sinak, no animals at Galago Pan because there's no water there, so it's not going to drive them. It's an open section, there's no big shady tree for them to sit under, so rather than sitting in the sun where there's no water, they're going to go and try and find shade somewhere. So no animals at the pan at the moment. But I spoke to Tex just now. He said to me that they don't know what's wrong. There must be something wrong with the pump, and they're going to go and check it out and see what's happening. So they'll hopefully get something going there and getting it working, because it is a vital pan for our sightings that we have here. It really does attract a lot of different animals. We see a lot of the Birminghams drinking there, the Nkuhuma Pride drinks there. We've seen Tandi, Hosanna, Tamba, Tingana, Shongile all go to that pan, so it's vitally important for us to have that pan operational and working. So hopefully it will be up and running soon again, and we will end up with a situation where we do have animals once again congregating around Galago Pan. Now, one animal that we do have who's very strategically hidden the camera so that he's not in shot anymore. He's busy placing his camera on the tree, but he's gone around the left side of the tree, so you can't actually see him at the moment. But that is Sebastian. But maybe actually I might be able to show you all of you if I just turn the camera slightly. There he is. So Seb is shouting at me because he says I mustn't touch the camera because I'm a presenter, not a cam up, which is about fair enough, because what I know about these cameras is probably very little. But I do know that at least if I click turn one little thing, I can then be able to swivel it on a horizontal axis. So there's Seb looking very cool with his white t-shirt. Good choice of t-shirt today. It is hot, so white is a very good color, Seb. And you're looking very dapper as you lean against your tree. I'm quite impressed. So he's waiting for the GoPro to take a few photos, and it's going to be super interesting. Like I say, we were talking about it yesterday, actually. I think yesterday or the day before. as to how this is all going to turn out, because it's going to be really cool to see the sort of changes, and some days there would have been clouds, some days there weren't, and then the change of the grass as it's gone from being tall to short and then to going to green. It's going to be very, very interesting indeed. And you can see it's a quick process, so Seb is already done. Well done, Seb. You were a good model. Ali, you saying with it being spring here in Djuma, will there be more rain? There's a bird of prey, Seb. I don't know if you're going to be able to get it for me. Sorry, I know you've just got your GoPro and that you're busy trying to fiddle with that. But yes, Ali, there will be rain coming at some point. There you go. It's on the bottom middle of the frame. Bottom, there you go. Straight. If you just go straight in, you'll get it. There we go. So we will be getting rain. It normally arrives, our first sort of set of rain arrives in the around October, November. That's when we generally first get rain. Oh, this bird of prey is just coming so close to us so quickly. I actually can't even see what it is yet. It's still dark. I'll get back to the rain question now that it's coming over my head. It's an African harrier hawk, which is also known as a gymnogene. So it is, there it is. And there is one that hangs around on quarantine. It spends a lot of time moving in this area and hunting along these marula trees. But you can see that telltale grey coloration with that barred tail and those long featherless legs. And with the wind, it's giving Seb a hard time because it's about to fly right over our heads. So I don't know if we're going to be able to keep it for much longer. Good work though, Seb. That's not moving very slowly at all. But there goes our African harrier hawk. But Ali, back to your question. So we normally get a first sort of session of rain around late October and into November, and then we normally have a bit of a hiatus in the rain from December until late Jan. We start to then get really a lot of rain, and that's normally, if we're going to get flooding times, we get flooded around the middle of January to the end of Jan, and then that goes through until March. Last year was a bit different. Last year we only had rain late in the season. We only had it towards February, and it rained in February, March, and a little bit into April, which was a bit different to normal. So we should start to see rain coming at some point, and these building of temperatures that we're getting now, coupled with a bit of a breeze that blows, causes mass amounts of evaporation, and theoretically we should then start to see storms starting to build along the escarpment areas and then coming down into this low felt or into the Kruger system. So rain should start coming at some point in the next few months, but it will still be dry for a little bit. Sinak, you're wondering what animals we will have coming to Djuma in the springtime. Well, animal wise, not that much. The animals here in the Kruger National Park, they tend to be pretty stationary all year round. They'll kind of move around the park, but we don't see huge numbers of differences between, let's say, wildebeest and zebra and buffalo and these kind of things. We probably will find that we'll get quite a few elephants coming in when we get our first rains. They often like to take advantage of those new fresh growth, as well as any water holes that then fill up. They can come and swim and drink from those, so we generally get a little influx of elephants. We should see some of the grazing animals, so hopefully some buffalo. I've heard lots of buffalo all around us at the moment, but none here in this particular area in the Sabi sands. There's some on the Sand River and Sabi River, and there's some north of us in the Timbavati and Manuleti. So hopefully they'll start pushing back when the grazing gets a little bit better. But what we really do see in the spring and going into the summer is a very big influx of birds and insects. So that's what we're going to start seeing arriving. Lots of migratory species of birds are going to start arriving, and then coupled with that, a lot of insects too. We were actually having a chat about this last night. Seb, what is that in that branch all the way down there? Is it a nest? Just never noticed. It's so dry now that you can see things that you don't normally see. Yes, it's a buffalo weaver nest, so don't stress too much, Seb. It's okay. It's far in the distance. I just thought it was maybe something lying on a branch, but it's a buffalo weaver nest, and you should always check these things because you can never be too careful. Sometimes you can spot things from quite far, and it can be what you're looking for. So yeah, we'll have a lot of insects coming into this area. There's going to be a huge amount of different insects, and what's amazing with the insect life is, unlike the birds that generally we'll get pretty much the same migratory species, we might get one or two different ones if there's a big storm and they get blown in off the east coast of Mozambique, because our storms will come from that side with all the tropical cyclones and varying other things that build up in the Madagascar channel. But once with insects, every year seems to produce different insects. It's really weird, and we'll get sort of big populations of certain insects one year, and then the next year you don't see too many of those and you get others. So it's going to be really cool to see all of these different insects that are going to arrive in this area, and I'm super excited, particularly because obviously we're going to be ramping up our bushwalks again soon and doing them a lot more regularly, and as spring comes, the bushwalk really becomes phenomenally good with all the insects. Right, enough about insects. Let's go back to Vincent in the Mara and see how he's enjoying his spotted cat.
Still with our boy. He's not yet shown any sign of waking up. He's still chilling out, and like you can see his ears are twitching and the tail is wagging his tail now. That's good signs of him getting active in any minute. And the sun is just behind the clouds now, so that shows it's getting cool, and it's a good time for these elusive cats to be active during cold hours of the day, and probably hoping it's going to wake up any minute soon. You could see he's still twitching the tail and the ears. Maybe could be disturbed by the flies. So hoping for the best anytime, and it's fairly a big leopard. Izzy, you'd like to know how old the leopard is, and it's a bit a tricky question because the leopard is just flat on the ground, and just been looking on my binocs, and I could probably say it's more than between 5 and 7 years of age. Good, Mr. Kelly. How long the leopard? Want to know how long the leopards live. Most of the cats, lions and leopards live between 10 to 15 to 20 years in captivity. But right here in the wild, there's lots of fights within over territories and over the females. So we expect them to live a little bit less, probably between 10 and 12 years in the wild. So, Mr. Kelly, hope you got that. And just saw him shaking. Lorena want to know if the leopard has a name. Actually, I'm not familiar with this leopard, and I don't know his name. Most of the leopards has names, but around the triangle we have some specific leopard with names, but there's lots of them with non-names, since they don't stay much for people for identification, and they're not visible every day. So this guy, I don't know, he's got a name. Wow, Jason, leopards are there in the Mara, but they're in the wild, so you will always have to depend on luck and patience sometimes, because leopards are elusive and they are shy, most of them. Unlike this guy in front of us who doesn't show any sign of shyness, he's just relaxed. So there's plenty of leopards around, and you're not the only one who's missing a leopard, and probably that's the reason of you coming back again and find us, and we'll try to show you one leopard. We've got them here. So okay, Taylor. Cheetah is looking for a cheetah, so we're just going to link again back to Taylor.
We are indeed looking for cheetah, but I don't really know where exactly to search. See, we got distracted this morning. We obviously let the lions because they sat down, and Vincent actually spotted the cheetah. He's got unbelievable eyesight, doesn't he? How was he finding that leopard? Suppose it pays to know the area. If you've been working here for so long, you know these things. Anyway, so we went and we followed this female cheetah. It was lovely. And then we looked back and we saw that the lions were stalking the giraffe. And I thought, ooh, could be exciting. Could be Facebook Live opportunity. So raced back over. But then we lost the cheetah. She was on the move. She was sort of stepping up onto her mound, surveying the area. She could have had a rest because it did get exceptionally warm at one point today. So there's lots of shepherd's trees and these desert dates and things like that. Lots of big shrubs. She could really be anywhere. She could have even moved. In my experience, cheetah can move a huge distance in such a short space of time, and they do utilize the daytime during the heat of the day when, say, the other predators like lions and hyena are most likely to be sleeping. So she could be moved completely out of this area, but we did come quite far south from where we left her, and we're working our way back that side. So I'm just making sure that I'm scanning. But now I see the clouds are building up. And you know how I know it's going to rain? It's because I washed my hair today. Every single time I wash my hair, it pours with rain, and then it turns into a bird nest. It's wonderful. Now, Kimberly, quite a vague question. You're wondering, in general, what is the largest cat? Well, if you're talking about Africa, then it's the lion. However, the biggest of big cats is the tiger. And then you get panthers and jaguars and mountain lions and leopards and cheetah and serval cats and caracal and African wildcats, the forest cats in Sri Lanka, not forest cats, the fishing cats, and all these different types of things. So there's many types of cats, but out of all the big cats, it's the tiger, and then in Africa it's the lion. Okay. So I'm just going to I'm going to get to another vantage point again, and then I'm going to scan with the binoculars and just have a little look. But I have no idea. Again, it's so hard when you don't know a particular animal's sort of home range or territory. It makes it tough trying to relocate on an animal. Once you sort of figure out where those cats like to move around and sleep, then it becomes pretty easy. For instance, like the sausage tree pride. Now I'm just starting to figure them out. I suppose that's why I'm enjoying them so much, because they're becoming increasingly more easy to find. Right, we'll stop up here and we're going to look down. Now the ladies in final control, obviously for the big cat report, are wondering, what is the name of the cheetah that I'm searching for? Alice and Chantal and Jerry and whoever else is sitting in final control, the wonderful ladies, I don't know. I have absolutely no idea. You know who we can ask though? Is perhaps we need to push this question forward to Vincent, because he's just got outstanding knowledge of the area and he worked in the Mark Triangle for many, many years. So I think we should ask him. Let's do that. Alright, so we're going to stop up on this little crest and we're going to do a scan around, and hopefully we're going to find a cheetah laying under a tree. That would be quite nice. Let's go to Tristan, who seems to be sussing out the dams.
I am, Taylor. I'm sussing out the dams because it feels as hot as Hades out here. It's about 90 degrees Fahrenheit and 30 degrees Celsius. Now, you can see at Treehouse Dam, there is one of the insects we've been talking about. So there is a banded groundling, which is a type of damsel that is sitting on top of the little branch. So it's easy to identify because of those two black lines that are through the wings, and it's probably just taking it very easy. It might have actually just hatched and is drying those wings a little bit. Also, they do deposit their eggs inside the water, and so they fly around often close to water like this, and then they'll just dip the abdomen in. But we're going to be seeing more and more and more and more and more of these guys. Is it being chased by something? Is there two of them? Looks like it is, isn't it? Where's it gone now? Yeah, it looked like there was two of them. Maybe it was a male and a female that were chasing each other around in a bit of a courtship display. There's our terrapin as well, taking it very easy and in the best possible place for a day like today, just having a rest, swimming I think many of us would be quite jealous. Seb, wouldn't you like to be like a terrapin today in the water? I think so. Now, believe it or not, there is also a hippo here at Treehouse Dam, but Scuba Steve is not really wanting to show his face as per normal. He's somewhere over there. You would think that there is not a hippo in sight, and this is what shows you with African water, is that you need to be careful when you approach water holes in the bush areas of Africa. Never take them for granted, because there could easily be something lurking. Even though you don't see it, you never know what could be there. So there is a hippo right in the middle of this dam. We saw him when we first came in, and he put his head underwater, so he is there, but you wouldn't know, and you might be tempted to go dive in there, and you will then get a very nasty surprise if you did. I don't think you'd be very happy if you went diving in there and a big hippo bull popped its head out. Then in the background there's some waterbuck that are also around, which is generally a place that you'd find them, is near water. So lots happening around the dam actually. It's a kind of place you would want to be at in a day like today. There's shade and there's water, and so for all of these animals it's really the best possible position. But these are young male waterbuck which have just formed, by the looks of it, a little bachelor group. So you can see small, short, stubby horns, which is quite common to see when they form bachelor groups together when they're young like this. And then you'll find they'll sort of compete with one another, and they'll then try and get ascendancy over some females, and from there they'll then take over a group of females, and they'll then sit on the edge as bachelors. The ones that lose and the one that's dominant will take over. And a squirrel as well that's moving around. I wonder if this is our squirrel friend from this morning that was shouting all over the place. Seb and I saw a squirrel at Treehouse Dam that was making lots of noise, so I wonder if that's our squirrel friend. It's very relaxed. It's unusual because squirrels generally aren't that relaxed, and normally we don't get great views of them, but this guy's just going about its business, scratching through the grass, looking for food. You can see how well they camouflage as well. Is our hippo going to pop his head up? There's a bit of a disturbance in the water, so maybe we might just get the nostrils poking out of the water. This is what happens with these guys sometimes, is they just push their nose out, particularly Scuba Steve, is he puts his nose out and then he gets a massive fright when he sees you and then goes barreling underwater again. Now they can hold their breath for between sort of 5 and 7 minutes, so if we're patient enough, he eventually will have to come up for air and we'll have to poke that nose out to get some sort of semblance of oxygen. It's just a patience game in the meantime. And I wonder if he's the same hippo that allowed the terrapins to crawl on his head. Remember that, Seb? That was really cool. Oh, yeah. That was a very cool sighting when we had the terrapins sitting on top of the head. There are a few terrapins lurking around, so there's a bit of a disturbance again under the water. Let's see. It's like a waiting game. Lexi, you want to know how deep this pan is? Well, Lexi, honestly, I didn't really know how deep it was because it's always had water in it since I've been here. There's the nose. There they are. You see them? The little nostrils. So there we go. There's a hippo. Well, the nose of a hippo, that is, and back underwater. But just watching this hippo that came in here yesterday morning, which is the same hippo, we watched him run into here. It's a lot deeper than I actually thought, because he came off the side and immediately he went in. He actually went straight underwater and covered him. So I would say that it's probably about, now at this stage, in the middle, maybe 2 meters deep, I would say, somewhere around there. That's about how deep it is, maybe a little bit more than that. I know they did dig out some of these dams in the last few months before the rains arrived, so last year, just to try and get rid of all the sediment that it collected, so that it would be easier for them to be able to, well, when the rain came, for them to hold water and hold more water, and we still have water when the dry season came. So it seems as though it's worked, because Treehouse Dam has still got water in it this winter. I suppose most of the dams do. It's not quite as harsh a winter as what we had last time. Right, oh, there's some kudus coming down for a drink too. Hey guys, you must be happy that there's no leopards lurking around this area anymore. So there's a nice big family of kudu that are also heading slowly but surely towards the water's edge, just browsing their way along as they go. I always enjoy watching kudus feed. It's as though the leaves are about to run away, and they use these lips very quickly to grab any leaves that they potentially are on the branch. You see? It's a quick little movement of their lips. Oh, are you battling to reach there? Let's see if it'll do it on one of the other branches. It's quite funny when they stick out their tongues like that to try and feed. But you can see how the browse line works. Basically, they've eaten everything at a certain level, and once that's all gone, they then start to struggle. And kudu actually are one of the animals that struggles the most when we have drought periods. They're one of the animals that sort of comes first. There's a hippo. There's a hippo in the background, out the water. So there's another hippo. Maybe we're going to get a territorial standoff. How cool is this? Not every day we see hippos out the water, and especially at this time of the day. It's hot. How cool is this? You can see he's been lying in the mud. Buddy, this is not a dam you want to come to because there's already somebody here. This might be interesting. We might see a massive territorial dispute. Now, the hippo and the waterbuck are about to have a standoff as well because the waterbuck is standing there and watching this. I think everybody's a bit confused to see a hippo walking around at this time of the day, and it's why now in this sort of period you've got to be so careful when you're on foot in the bush, because hippos, as these waterholes are drying out, they're trying to just find anywhere, and so they'll go into drainage sections to be able to sort of hide out in the shade until they can find water, or at least then be able to feed at night. But look, he's going straight towards the water. I reckon we're in for a serious territorial standoff here, because he won't know that there is a hippo inside here. Seb, I'm just going to turn us quickly, or actually just reverse us back, because he's not going to know that there's a hippo inside here, so he's going to want to go to the water for safety, and that other hippo is not going to be impressed at all. See, there he goes there. Look, the other hippo. I wonder if he spotted it. You see, he spotted the other hippo now, and that stopped him in his tracks. Scuba Steve, you put your nose up at the right time. Look, you see, he's now turning and he's realized, hang on a second, there's already a hippo here. I don't want to fight with that hippo. I'm going to go somewhere else. Amazing, isn't it? He was going for the water, and if Scuba Steve hadn't put up his nose, I think we would have seen a serious fight ensue. But this hippo has realized, no, I'm not welcome in this dam because there's already a bull hippo here. Now I've got to go somewhere else. And isn't that strange, just seeing a hippo walking down the road at this time of the day? What are you doing, and where have you come from, more likely? Let's see if we can try and follow him a little bit. They do get a bit grumpy out the water, so I don't want to irritate him too much. But let's try and see. Izzy, you wondering how long a hippo can be out of water? Well, if they're in shade and they can find themselves like a little muddy wallow and a pit, then they can actually spend quite long outside of water. You'll find that a few days easily, as long as they can get to water within sort of 2-3 days, then they'll be okay. But there he goes, he's going off into the bush. Where are you off to? Because the way that he's heading, there's no water this side. He's got a long way to go before he's going to find water. He's going to have to head pretty much towards Arathusa Dam. We know there's no water there, so maybe Red Dam, which is far from here. It is not close at all, so it's going to be a long walk for this hippo. Now let's see. This is so cool. Cherie, you want to know how old this hippo could be? Well, how old I think he could be. Difficult to say. He's a younger bull, and that's why he doesn't have a waterhole of his own. The big, more experienced bulls, they will have waterholes of their own because they will have been able to hold on to the water, the sort of receding waterholes that they were already in by being the stronger animal. So I would say he's probably a younger individual, but his exact age, very difficult to say. He's gone past a sub-adult. He's got quite a big body already. It's just that he's not fully developed. So I would say maybe 10 years, maybe somewhere around there, but that's just a complete guess. There's no actual science in that whatsoever. But you see, he's going down towards the shady drainage section that leads towards Treehouse Dam, so he knows that it's going to be better for him to go into those areas. Are you getting your little trot on? That's so cool. You never know what you're going to see out here. I would never have ever guessed that we were going to find a hippo at this time of the day in this heat walking around randomly towards Treehouse Dam. And the fact that there was that interaction with the other hippo and he kind of just saw it and realized, no, I'm not even going to try, and then moved off, is very cool. Cassie, you wondering if these guys can sense water, or do they just stumble along until they find water? No, they'll sense water. They'll also know where water is from their days when they're out, or their nights, should I say, out on the town, and then they go and look for food. They'll often go grazing, and they'll move past water sources, and they'll follow other tracks. So they'll follow pathways of animals that will lead towards water, and I would imagine that they've got a more sophisticated sense of smell, that they can actually smell the moisture from quite far away. So that's why they would probably, in all likelihood, be able to know where water is, and why he went straight to the water. But it is so cool to see one of these guys out. I think he's contemplating his next move. I don't think he knows quite where he wants to go at the moment. He's sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place. He's got the sun beating down on him, which is probably getting quite hot, us on this road, and then a hippo with water tantalizingly close. So I wonder if he's not going to just try and sneak into the water from this far edge and see and test and see if that other male reacts towards him. Might be what he's going to do. But it's really cool to be able to see his skin up close, because generally all we see is those ears and head, and you can see they've got quite a bumpy skin, and those are all the pores that will secrete that liquid that will help to keep the skin nice and hydrated. So they have that, basically it almost looks like a blood that comes out of them. It's a pinkish colored sweat, and that will be secreted out and keep that skin hydrated and moist. But super cool to see. It almost looks like, I'm trying to think of something that it looks like, almost like a golf glove to a degree, with all those little holes on it, and then that short stubby tail and those short legs as well. And you can see he's got a few scars here and there, nothing too major, so he hasn't had to fight too much to be out of the water. Jason, the predators for a hippo at this size are very few and far between. You might find a lion pride trying its luck, but they would be very, very, very unwise to go after them. Hippos have serious sets of jaws and big teeth, and lions would often do get bullied by hippos. So lions would be really the only thing. If it was younger, then you would find hyenas, leopard, lions, crocodile. Those could all be potential threats for a hippo that is a baby. But as this size, lions pretty much are the only one, and then obviously there's not predators, but other male hippos could potentially cause their demise as well. They do fight to the death quite often. With those big teeth, when they bite one another, sometimes they'll puncture the abdominal cavity and hit a vital organ, and there'll be sort of intra-abdominal bleeding or something like that, and they end up then dying from it. So it's not so much predation, but it's the causes of their death as male hippos. That can't be comfy to be sitting there, buddy. It's hot. Like I say, he's really got nowhere else to go. The next dam from here is so far away.
Where is he coming from?
So, Mary, you wondering I think if I got the correct part of this, is that if they would go into water just to get a little bit wet and then carry on. Well, no, they can't, because this particular one saw that other hippo. Fought with the other one. That's it, sorry. Thank you, Megs. So he might, if he has seen the other hippo and thinks that he could potentially challenge that hippo if he's a similar size, but what he doesn't know is how big that hippo is. All he saw was the nose of the hippo sticking out, so it might be a massive bull hippo, and he's wary of that and nervous of that. So what you might find is, now that he's here, he might edge his way closer and then just sit and look and see how big that hippo is. If it's of a similar size, then yes, he will fight that hippo for this water hole and get himself wet and try and kind of fight that hippo out of there. But as soon as he goes near that water, if that other hippo doesn't want him there's going to be some sort of interaction. And if he's weaker, he's going to get a hiding from that guy, and he could potentially get killed, as we were saying just now. So there's a risk in it, and that's why he stopped immediately. As soon as he saw the little snout coming out of the water, he stopped and turned the other way. So he's wary of bigger hippos and knows that he's not as big and dominant as some of the other hippos around this area, and that's why he has to be a little bit more careful when approaching water. But it's so odd to see one just sitting in the bush, and he's almost looks as though he's starting to go to sleep. I wonder if he'll lie down here. That would be quite something if he did. They do sometimes lie in these shady areas. It's like I say, at this time of the year when you're doing walks, you've got to be very careful, because you can come around a bush and there's this hippo, and they don't take kindly to being found outside of water by people. That's when most of the incidents with hippos happen, is when they get caught outside of water, and they'll then try and charge to some point of safety, and generally that's towards you. So you have to be very careful when walking around at this time of the year, and make sure you pay attention. Dear watcher, you're quite right. It could very well be that this hippo has been pushed out by another hippo in another water source. The only thing is that he doesn't have any sort of battle wounds, and if he was a hippo that was territorially dominant somewhere, he would have fought to keep his water. You know, at the end of the day, he doesn't want to get pushed out, so he would have fought, and you would have found a lot more scarring and fresh wounds on him. He's got none of that. So I think what's happened is, and this is what does happen during these drier periods, is that he might have come from somewhere like Chitwa Dam, and Chitwa Dam is receding slightly, and the space for these young males on the fringes of those pods of females with the dominant male is getting less and less and less, and so the tolerance of that big dominant male gets less, and he then starts to push them out. Remember, at Chitwa Dam there will be females, and then there will be a dominant male, but there will also be sub-adult males that will be splintered around on the fringes of those pods, and so as that dries out, they then get compressed together, and the big dominant males will then push them out. He's just standing dead still. I think he's trying to almost do the statue pose that we'll then leave him alone and he can carry on wandering to a point of safety. He's just been eyeing us out and just working out what's going on. But you can see, even as a big hippo like that, you would think that he would be quite easy to spot. But if he moved 1 meter to his right and we drove past him without looking, we could probably quite easily drive past him. The color of his skin perfectly matches those shadowy thickets that we see there. But that's certainly one for the books, and a very unexpected sighting. That's why it's worth checking waterholes in hot weather, that's for sure. I wonder where he's going to go though, or where he came from. I'd imagine Chitwa was where he's come from. I think so. He could have also come from Buffelshoek Dam, I suppose, but he's coming from the eastern side, which is from sort of Chitwa Dam side. So we'll just have to work, maybe I'll backtrack him and see where he's gone. But while we do that, let's go back all the way to the north and to the spotted beauties of the Mara with Vincent.
Leopard doesn't seem to have any sign of him waking up. Seems to be enjoying the shade here, and just see maybe he's got a fly disturbing him in the face. He's just twitching the ear and just raising up ahead a little bit, checking who's coming around and who's around, and going back to sleep. Probably he may be exhausted or just enjoying the shade for covering himself from the heat. And leopards around this area, as I just mentioned before, that we used to, some years back, there is a fairly young leopard around here. Oh, look at him yawning. That's the first sign of him getting active, actually. Yawning. Come up, please, again. Feli is asking when the leopards are active. Leopards are mostly nocturnal, but they could be partially diurnal. So during cold hours of the day, early morning and late hours of the afternoon, they can be active, but mostly at night they are active because they see well at night. And rather opposite of the cheetah, which is actually purely diurnal. So the leopards are active at night mostly. So this guy has just yawned. Robert is just asking, want to know what the leopards eat. And leopards actually has a variety of food compared to any other cat we have around here. Because the leopard could eat from the birds, the tortoises, the fish, snakes, and most favorite the antelopes, mostly the impalas. So that's the favorite animal the leopard prefer here in the Mara. So they have a variety of food. So they're actually the last cat to starve because they eat anything. Just comparing with the lions and other. Wow, beautiful. Essie, my favorite animal is a cheetah. I love a cheetah very much. I found her very gentle and innocent, and I just fall in love with the cheetah. I just like them a lot. And these guys had a bite of a leopard, and that's why I don't like them. Once when I was a young boy, taking care of the sheep, a flock of sheep and goats back at home, and I was taking them to a salt lake, and I just there's a path of bushes into the salt lake, and I was behind the flock, and the leopard just. Okay, Taylor, she's having a cheetah. She's looking for a cheetah, so we're going to link back to Taylor.
Vincent, I don't know if I'm going to have any luck with the cheetah without you, I'm afraid. Like I said, your eyes are phenomenal. So what we're going to do now, we're going to see if we can find the sausage tree pride. They have moved from their spot where we left them today. So we're just going to head down in this direction. We're going to scan. But you know what's really amazing, I have to tell you, is that, so this morning we had the lions trying to stalk giraffe. You obviously all saw that. And well, they were heading in that direction. Then after that we had the cheetah maybe 100 meters away, and that leopard was probably only about 80 meters away from where we left the lions. So how crazy is that? The three big cat species that occur in this area were all within the vicinity of 200 meters from one another at one point during the day. Whether that leopard was there sleeping maybe closer to the tree, or maybe it had just walked there a little bit later in the day, I'm not really sure, but I think that that's unbelievable. That doesn't happen too often. So, I'm just thinking, if I were a lion and I had been walking around trying to catch something the whole day, I'd probably be tired and want to sleep. Where would I want to sleep? They went to sleep. They all sat down and flopped down under the shade of the Balanites trees. So I can't imagine that they would have gone far unless something enticing came along later on in the day, and maybe they got up and made another missed attempt, or maybe they were successful. So we'll just keep scanning around here. If we aren't lucky, then we're going to go down towards the river. Craig's quite keen to find the jackals and perhaps their new den if they have moved them. So we might do that a little bit later. But I think that'll be easier to do tonight with the infrared cameras and the thermal cameras. And that's, like I said, that's how we spotted them the first time. It's actually with the little FLIR camera, the heat signatures. So yeah, that's sort of our plan. We're basically just going to head in that direction now. We're going to just keep checking. The grass is quite tall here though, so it would make it quite difficult, unfortunately, for us to try and spot cats. Rocky, don't jinx us. You've said there's no storms today. Yes, there is. There's something building down there. Look at that. Let me slow down for you because it's quite bumpy. Something's brewing in the east, and that seems to be the most common area that the weather sort of comes from. Whether it will blow towards us, we're going to have to wait and see. But Rocky, I said earlier, I washed my hair, and every time I wash my hair and I go on safari, it rains and it ruins it. All the time. It's a curse. Worst curse ever. Oh, I suppose there's worse things that could happen, but I don't like having to try and brush the bird's nest out of my hair. There's a lot of it. I have to have an industrial hairbrush. I just about need a horse brush to get into it sometimes. Okay. Oh, so it's changing. It's definitely changing in that corner. Otherwise, it doesn't really look like rain anywhere else for now. Just the east. There's a bit of a breeze. It's not too windy. So it's not too bad. Maybe it's not going to blow towards us. What's happening down there? Let me scan. Okay, they're just sitting with some elephants. Just checking to see where the cars are bundling up. Okay, we'll keep searching for something fantastic and something with spots, or maybe just a big cat. Vincent's, of course, got a leopard, and I'm sure he wants to finish telling you his story.
Okay, welcome back. I was just narrating a story about a bite I have in my leg of a leopard. Now the boy is just up now as some cars are approaching us. So when I was young, about 10 years old, and I was looking at the flock at home, sheep and goats, taking them to a salt lake. So there's this path of bushes that we have to go through, going down the salt lake. And when I was driving the sheep. I was just coming from behind, and the sheep like got scooped, and they were running in each direction in front. So I had to run ahead and see what was going wrong with them. And I found a leopard holding on the throat, trying to kill one of the sheep. Then I knew I'll be in trouble when I get home. Well, my dad will ask me what took one of the sheep. Then I had my machete and my rungu, Maasai club. Then I just like throw the leopard and hit on the face. And with a fraction of seconds, the leopard just like jumped onto my leg, bite me, and ran away. So I didn't even realize that it bitten me until after about 3 minutes, 5 minutes, when I was like seeing blood flowing down my leg. And then I drive the flock back home, and I went to hospital, but actually it took me a long time to heal, about 6 months to heal. I think the infection of the teeth was, so that's why I don't, okay, fine, it's not my favorite, I like them, but it's not my favorite. Now he's up and it's just sitting on his belly. You can now see the size of the head, as I was just telling you, that you can tell definitely it's a big boy, and he's just scanning around. Hopefully he's going to wake up soon, as he just like yawn, twitching the ears, sleep at the back, and now he's sort of like sitting up. He might get some yawns before he starts walking, or before anything, or he can like roll on the sides or at the back, just like our normal cats. Oh, the yawn comes now. Oh, look at the size of the canines. The guy is looking around now. Hopefully he's going to have some display for us and more yawns. Well, actually, the James is asking on the size of a territory of a male leopard in the Mara. Some male have like almost 20 to 30 kilometers square, but depending on the area they are, the pressure could be high. Also, the availability of food could actually matter the size of territory they could hold. But normally, up to about 20 kilometers square, they could hold. So this guy is looking around now, and further to our right, when we were driving. Come up again, please. Yeah, leopards has beautiful eyes, and they could like see very well at night, and during now it's just sun is coming down, and see his opening eyes and looking around at the moment. Look at the face. See the black spots going across the neck like a necklace, and that's one of the identification. You can actually identify them from cheetahs. The cheetah doesn't have that black necklace. The cheetah have the tear marks running down the face, and he's still like want to go back to sleep. Come up, please. Sarah want to know my favorite cheetah experience. Wow, that's a beautiful question, Sarah. I had lots of cheetah favorite experience, but once I saw a cheetah and she was trying to kill. She was on a hunting mode, and this cheetah was focusing on Thompson gazelles, And when she was like on a move, the Thompson gazelles ran away, and one baby was scared, and I think she was just like hiding, because Thompson gazelles hide their babies just away from them so they cannot be visible to predators. And this cheetah saw this baby Thompson, and we know that they're looking for food. But believe me, no, that cheetah never killed that baby gazelle. She let her go. So I feel that was my favorite experience of a cheetah. And I really never saw that before, because that's the favorite food. So it was an easy catch and just a ready meal for her on table, but she did never go for it. So that was my very favorite one. Look at the So guys, we're still watching a leopard. Hopefully it's going to wake up sometime, but now we're going to link with Tristan to tell us more. Oh, look at that yawn.
We are still with our hippo. There's Scuba Steve in the distance that is busy watching and checking out the intruder. The intruder is just off to my right hand side. There's also some kudu that have joined the party there in the distance. So it's all happening at Treehouse Dam at this stage. We're finding a situation where everybody's coming down for water. So it's very, very interesting to see. Now, Tula Ann, I believe you were wondering why this hippo won't share its water hole. Now, Tulan is 5 years old, and Tulan, the reason why this naughty hippo won't share his water hole is because he doesn't want any competition for if a girlfriend arrives. So if a girlfriend wants to come to the water hole and he wants to have the girlfriend to himself, he doesn't want to share it with another boy, so he's keeping that boy away. Also, this water hole is very small. It's not very big, and it's not enough space really for two hippos inside there to both be covered with water, and so that's why they fight with each other and keep each other at bay. It's very naughty, but it's unfortunately they have to do that to be able to stay safe. So you can see there's the hippo in the background that's got the water hole. He must be very happy with life because he's nice and wet and he's got cool, whereas our hippo on our side over here must be hating it because it's very hot and he's not able to get to the water at all. And I think he's just sitting trying to weigh up his options. I don't think this hippo really actually knows where he wants to go at this stage. Interesting though to see the sort of social interactions between these two and see how difficult it is for a hippo to actually move around. We always just take it for granted that hippos just are in water and it's so easy for them. They find a water hole and they just go there and sit. But you can see sometimes these young males have a hard time for a while when they've got to be nomadic and move around and try and find something somewhere to survive. And if this hippo doesn't find water for 2-3 days, he's going to get dehydrated very quickly and then he's going to be in a lot of trouble. But I wonder if this hippo there, Scuba Steve, has actually seen our hippo over here, because since we came down this side his head has been above water a lot more. He's been a lot more vigilant. I wonder if from there he can actually see our hippo. But I'm super surprised that our hippo is also just sitting very close to us and not really moving too much. I would have thought that it would have been getting hot and it would have tried to find some sort of shade, but it's just standing. The sun's completely on its side. There we go. Strange. Melanie, this is something we've been thinking about actually. You're wondering what I would do if a hippo decided to come barreling towards us. Well, Melody, I think probably the best option, which would be a close call and a close shave to get it out of here in time, would be to put it into first gear and put my foot flat and test Rusty's ability to drive as fast as possible. So that's the best thing to do. There's not really much else we can do. I don't have any form of weaponry on here to keep them at bay, so maybe bang on the side of the car and try and just disturb him and change his direction with noise. But the best thing would be to just try and drive as quick as possible. The problem with that is I'd probably lose Sebastian if I did it, because I've got a nice bump in front here that would throw him off if I went full speed. So let's hope that that doesn't happen, because firstly I don't have any door, so if that hippo does come in this direction my whole body is exposed completely, and secondly I don't really want to throw Seb off the car with a raging hippo behind me. So let's try and avoid that as much as possible. He seems fairly chilled, and the fact that he hasn't been aggressive to us yet would tend to suggest that we don't have anything to worry about at this stage. think this is the most we've ever seen of Scuba Steve. He's generally not exposed like this, so the fact that there's another hippo around has been quite a blessing in disguise. We've actually got to see him. He has yawned a few times. I hope he does yawn again for us, because it is beautiful. Oh, he got a fright. What did you get a fright from now? He's such a scaredy cat, this hippo. Maybe a terrapin bit him somewhere. They sometimes feed off the ticks. You can actually see a lot of the terrapins floating around near them, and sometimes they'll feed on the sensitive parts underneath the chin or between the legs, and that gives them a bit of a nip, and they then react to it, and they'll go underwater quickly, and that kind of causes a bow wave to form and pushes the terrapins away for a little bit. I think he might I thought he might roll over. It looked like he was starting to turn slightly. Sinak, you're asking if they're aggressive to other herbivores. Well, no, there was a whole bunch of kudus that came down to drink, and they were busy having a nice drink on the edge, and this hippo wasn't at all perturbed by those kudus. It didn't show any sign of aggression to them, didn't try and chase them or charge at them, so they're not too worried about other herbivores. You sometimes see them getting a little bit upset with the elephants. If the elephants come in and start swinging and splashing and making a racket, then they sometimes show their teeth a little bit, but they know that the elephant is much bigger, so they'll back down most times. But there we go, there goes our terrapin. Oh no. Let the terrapin up. There they are. Doesn't want them today. Come on. There we go. Oh, don't eat the terrapin. You see the terrapin went flying off of the back as he was yawning. Shame, there's the disgraced terrapin floating off in the background. Oh no. Scuba Steve, don't be grumpy. Let your friends come along for the ride. They're all gathering. It's like a herd of terrapins. What is the collective noun for a terrapin? I actually don't even know what the collective noun for terrapins is. If you do know, hashtag Safari Live. There goes a kudu. Hashtag Safari Live or YouTube chat if you know what the collective noun is for terrapins. I would imagine that turtles will have a collective noun. Maybe not terrapins, but maybe the turtles will. But there you go. You were asking whether or not they're aggressive to other antelope. There's a kudu drinking right there, not far from the hippo, and you can see he's not in any way being aggressive towards that young kudu. He's just watching it. There's a couple oxpeckers flying in. There goes our terrapin in the background, and he's going to yawn. Oh, no, not properly. It's quite interesting because he keeps opening his mouth and then the terrapins fall off the side, but it's not stopping them. They certainly do have a lot of stamina. That's so cool to see. Kudu and hippo. Big ears and small ears. Oh, look at those teeth. He's showing everybody how big he is. So I reckon he can see this other hippo from where he is, and that's why he's displaying as much as he is at the moment, because generally you won't see hippos yawn as much as this in such a short space of time. He's actually coming a little bit closer this way. I wonder if we're going to hear him grunting. Look, he looks like he might scent mark. Just watch his tail area. We might see, if you see the tail start flicking, then that's him trying to display that this is my water hole. But he's definitely stood up a little bit now as well. Billy, who's also 5 years old. Hello, Billy, and I hope you're enjoying your wildlife experience from Kenya and South Africa. Oh, there's a terrapin crawling up. Billy, you want to know if there's any frogs that are around the hippos and around the dam. They are, Billy, but they're very difficult to see. Now's not the best time for frogs. Most of our frogs are not active at the moment because it's too dry. But we did see this morning, Billy, we saw a stork catching a frog. And so there are frogs around, but not very many of them. The frogs that you will find at this time of the year in water like this will probably be called platanas. So you'll have the thing called a common platana or a tropical platana, and they'll be around. But the other frogs, not too many. We have to wait for the rains to come, and when the rains come, then they emerge from the soil or some sort of little cave that they've got themselves in, and they'll then start to breed in water, and then we'll see lots of tadpoles, and then there's frogs everywhere. So Billy, if you want to see frogs, you're going to have to keep watching Safari Live until the summer months. So when we get to November, December, January, February, and we'll try and show you as many frogs as possible. Myself and Taylor love frogs, so we'll definitely try and find lots of frogs for you in the summer months when the rains come. I wonder if this hippo is going to come out towards us here. I don't think so. Mr. Crowley, unfortunately no crocodiles in this particular water source. There has been a croc here once or twice before, but nothing at this stage. It's a little bit too small. There's not enough to sustain a crocodile for a long period of time, so unfortunately not. Also, because of last year's really bad drought, a lot of our crocodiles actually ended up moving out of this area completely, and we haven't quite gotten them back yet, so we'll have to wait for times of flood and rain for maybe some more crocodiles to arrive in these systems, and hopefully then we will see some crocs in this particular area and on the banks of Treehouse Dam. It would be a very successful place for a crocodile to spend time because there are lots of animals that come and drink here, but we're glad in a way that we don't have crocs here because it means our predators spend a lot of time drinking here. We see the leopards often drinking at Treehouse Dam, and if there was crocs here they would become far more wary of this water source and wouldn't come down nearly as much. So better that we don't have crocs at this stage. At the moment the only crocs that I know of that are around are at Chitwa Dam. Right, well, our hippo is still just taking it very easy, both of them. I think we're going to get another bit of a yawn as he tries to shake off some more terrapins. So I think what we'll probably do is sit here for a little bit longer, just see if our intruder is going to move towards the water. And while we do that, let's go back to the leopard man himself, who survived the spotted cat all the way in the Mara.
So we're still with our boy. He just gave us a small show. He woke up from the tree he was and rubbed on the tree like a sign of territory marking and spraying the urines on the tree and just gave us a small walk, and now he's just sitting down. He's just scanning around a little bit, and now he's just sitting down looking, scanning around. Hopefully he's going to give us another show. By the size, he looked pretty old one. You can see the dewlap hanging, and by the size of the body is massive, huge boy, and he must be a dominant guy within the territory. He's roaming a big territory here, and he must be the guy I was talking about some years back. He used to roam along this area, so hopefully he's going to stay more years to roam the area. And now he's going back to sleep, hopefully, but he looks like he's getting active now, and hopefully he's going to show us some actions later. You can see the ears are still twitching. Maybe he has a fly disturbing him. He's just lied low now on the long grass, but we're hoping that he's not going to go down the ditch, because just in front of us there's a small ditch, gully of water caused by erosion, and hopefully he's not going to go down there, otherwise we're going to miss his sight. But we're going to try keep an eye for him, and keeping an eye and trying to look whether he's going to do anything, hopefully. I've tried to scan around, I didn't see anything, but in the tall grass we might encounter the small antelopes called the oribi along the escarpment. Maybe he could go up there, maybe he could go down the swampy area, and there should be lots of impalas and some grants, gazelles around the area here. But this size leopard could also hunt like baby topi, and even the wildebeest. If you get a chance, he can go for an adult wildebeest for this massive size. They grow all like this. They're so determined and so strong, so they could bring down topis, they could bring down wildebeest, even adult one. So the leopards are known to be very strong cats. They can bring down animals 3 times more than their weight, and they actually have powerful shoulders and powerful necks. They are arboreal. They have an ability of going up on the trees, and I've seen big leopards getting up a topi on top of the tree, and also wildebeest. So the size of this guy here, he's massive, and he could bring down a topi and take up on the tree. And now it's looking around. See this massive head. It's just turning around, and they have good eyesight. Most of the predators have a binocular vision, so it's just checking around. and hopefully in the meanwhile he's going to wake up. He might give us some yawns again, please. And he's just watching straight at us. Look at the size of the face. Look at the eyes. He's looking sleepy a little bit and opening. Some scratches on the nose, could be from a fight. If you can look on the right side, on the left side of his nose, this is a bit of an old scratch. Could be engaged in a fight with another male, or sometimes when they're trying to mate with the females could growl, and if they're not ready for them, they could give some scratch slaps on the face, which can later can sometimes turn to be more scratching. Come up again with a question, please. The spot pattern, Laura is asking to know the spot pattern of this boy here. Actually, you have to scan around the whole body and look like a unique spot from any other. But now it's difficult because he's just sitting down, and you need to see the whole body, both sides. Then you can identify the spot pattern of him actually. But now with this sitting style, you can hardly tell the spot pattern of him. He's gone back to sleep. Beautiful boy, big one. Hopefully him. Please come up again. Mrs. Zero asking to know whether I've seen any animal giving birth. Yes, several of them. I've seen especially the antelopes, which drops the young ones in open grounds. With plenty of them. When you come to the Mara, early January, between early January and March, you'll definitely see the wildebeest dropping down the young ones. And next month, from this month, late this month to next month, most of the antelope, the topi, the hartebeest, and the warthogs will be dropping the young ones. So probably by next month, if you come anytime, October, we'll see lots of antelopes dropping the young ones. So there's lots of them, especially the antelopes in the open grounds. You'll definitely see lots of them. But the cats is difficult because they normally find secluded places and secret places for them to hide the young ones, give birth and hide the young ones for several months before they bring them out to expose into the nature and walk them around, show them their territory, take them to food. But it's difficult for cats, but for other antelopes it's very visible. You can see them out in the open. So the boy is still on sleep. Hopefully at some time we're just going to stay here, stay with him. Hopefully he's going to give us a show. We just almost staying a little bit while with them. So just going to link with Tristan, following a hippo. So back to Tristan.
We are, Vincent, we are following him and getting the beady eye as well. That is about as close as you'll ever want to get to a hippo that is not in water. He's right next to us and is fairly relaxed actually. He's given us no sign of any sort of indication of aggression. You see lots of oxpeckers. That's really cool visuals of oxpeckers on a hippo skin. That's, for those of you that like screenshots, it's quite nice to have all the oxpeckers on different types of skin and on a hippo is not what we will see every single day, but you can see the mud that's caked onto him, that's dried. That was a little bit wet when we first saw him, and unfortunately it's gotten quite dry, and it's almost like he's propping his face up by putting his mouth on the floor, and then he's just standing there and almost falling asleep. I see the other hippo has now presented himself a little bit more out of the water as well, so I wonder if Scuba Steve is not going to make his way into this direction. He's got a few more cuts and scars on him than what our hippo close to us has. I call him our hippo because I feel sorry for him. I feel a little bit bad that he's... Oh, look at that. That is a serious display to any other hippo. This is my waterhole, this is my mouth, these are my teeth. Stay away from here. So that's why he's doing that. Also presenting the broad side of his body. So from where he is, I wonder, he probably can see this other hippo and is just making sure that everybody knows who exactly is the boss of this waterhole. But I'm kind of rooting for our sad hippo here on the side. I want him to get to water. He looks as though he's dry and he's a little on the sad side. His kind of head is flopped down and he doesn't look exactly very thrilled with life at all. And always got to root for the underdog in life. So hopefully he's going to find his way to water and is going to be able to get out of this uncomfortable situation that he's currently in. I'm just so surprised as to how relaxed he is with us out of the water. Are you wondering if they always fight until death at waterholes? Not always. Sometimes they'll chase each other away without killing one another. There's often, they've got a very tough, thick hide, and if there's a few bites here and there might be some scarring, but they won't actually kill one another all the time. It does happen from time to time, but not always. So you might find that, well, in fact, probably I would say 80% of the time, the fights don't end up with death. They end up with a situation where the hippo actually survives no problem. So it's not always a sad story, but you can see he's starting to almost fall asleep now. The eyes slowly but surely closing. You can see also little ears in comparison to, if you had to compare that to something like the rhinos or the elephants, they've got tiny ears, and the reason why they have to have small ears is because when they go underwater, that's got to seal so the water doesn't leak in there all the time. So they twist that back towards the neck, and that then seals everything up. So smaller ears. Also, they don't really need to hear very well because they are underwater a lot of the time, and when they're on water they don't have too many predators, so they don't rely on hearing to stay alive. They've got a fairly decent sized eye that they can see, and then very big nostrils that they're able to smell pretty well as well. But look at that eye. It's a bit creepy, isn't it, when he looks at you like that? Look at that. There's the screenshot right there. Mr. Crowley, if you're asking why is he alone and where is his girlfriend? Well, I probably is asking himself that very question as well. I'm sure he wants a girlfriend. The reason why he's alone is because he's a sub-adult male, which means he's been pushed away by the more dominant males and been cast aside as the water holes have gotten smaller. And so that's what happens as a young male out here in a society where males rule and dominate. When you're not big enough and strong enough to compete, you then get cast aside and you have to live life on your own. And they don't form bachelor herds because, well, they're animals that need water and they need a lot of water to survive. So you'll find a situation that they try and kind of find water, a biggish water source for themselves. They can't have too many of them in there, otherwise it's not really enough space to stay under. But there's the nostrils I was talking about. You can see big nostrils and see how they close up very, very tightly together, so they can almost close up in a slit, and so they also seal so water doesn't go in there as well. It really is very cool to see. You can also see they've got quite a sort of bristly mouth. There's lots of little whiskers on the front there, and those you'll often find where hippos have walked when they drag their face, because they often walk like this where they're feeding, and you'll actually see the little whisker marks in the sand as they go. So really cool to see. And it's not every day we're going to get to see a hippo like this and for such a long period of time. But what I think we are going to do is probably leave our hippo to himself. I feel bad that maybe he's just sitting here in the sun, and maybe if we leave he might find his way somewhere else and try to find something. I think looks as though he's actually falling asleep, but so we might leave him in peace and let him do his thing. I don't think we're going to see too much action out of the two of them, but that was super exciting and super cool. So Mr. Hippo, I hope you have better luck and you find yourself some water, and I hope that this other hippo is kind to you and doesn't chase you away. But there we go. That's not a common sighting or one that we could have ever have scripted. It's a very special thing to see a hippo out the water like that. especially for such a long period of time. I think we've been with that hippo for close to an hour now, haven't we, Seb? Which has been really cool. We have been patient, and it's the nice thing is it's also now means the heat of the day is gone, so it is now perfect time, as Seb would say, leopard time at this time of the day. So we're going to go and try and see if we can't find ourselves a said leopard. There goes Scuba Steve disappearing under the water. So he's very brave when you're far away, but when you get closer he gets quite shy. But I can only imagine what would have happened if that hippo had gone barreling into this water and run straight into Scuba Steve. There would have been a serious fight that would have sort of broken out between the two of them, and it would have been quite interesting to have watched what went on. Right. I think because of the time of day and the fact that there's no real other signs of anything else out here this afternoon, nobody else has had really any success, bar the guys that are in Torchwood, who have seen 6 different cheetah this afternoon, which is quite crazy. So the 2 males and then a female with 3 cubs that are all on Torchwood. So hopefully we get lucky and some of them come our way. It would be really nice if we got to see those, especially the female with 3 cubs. Apparently she's a bit skittish, but maybe she'll head this way. But while we do that, let's go back to Vincent and see how he's doing with his leopard.
Welcome back again. Our leopard is still with us, and the weather seems to have just changed. Now it's getting cool, and as you see this big cloud in front of us further north, it's black cloud. It looks like it might pour, but not to our side. It's still far away, so it might pour up in the northern part of the Mara, and our boy is just still in the same area, covered with a long red oat grass. It's a species of grass dominating the entire Mara Serengeti ecosystem, and we're convinced that the grass just covering the leopard, just red oat grass, they're called the red oat grass, and we're convinced that the migration come for them. The greater big herds of wildebeest and zebras come for the grass. You see the beautiful tall grass. The grass can be up to about 3 feet high, and just to our right there's a beautiful tree. To our right, this front right, it's a beautiful tree in front of us, and here we call the leopard tree or a bosia, and down in the south they call the shiva tree. And the leopards normally prefer those trees. They have beautiful branches on them and no thorns on them, and the stump actually is a bit soft. It's not rough like the olives just further right, but you can see the scratches. They normally scratch on the trees and spend much of their day up on those trees if they're not down under the trees. And so this tree, there's a bird just flying up and down on the tree. It's called look like a shrike, a greyback shrike, right there. You see it. The family of shrikes, that's the family we call the butcher birds. The famous physical shrike normally hang the kills on the thorns or any branch you found and hang the tree. So their family, the physicals, are called the butcher birds. The greyback, the ones we're just looking at, they live gregarious, so you'll find lots of them together making all sort of noises, and also they make an alarm for the cats. Normally when they make the calls, they have different calls, and since they're going to make a different call, the cats know that there's an alarm for another cat or something. Can